You begin with the familiar conviction that you are separate from the One, and your life is a journey back toward it. You imagine a path, a destination, and a distance to be crossed. The idea feels natural. To return must mean to move. But Ibn Arabi questioned this certainty. He asked whether return is a movement through time or a movement through realization. If the One is the origin and sustainer of all existence, what could ever depart from it? What could travel outside of being itself? You begin to sense that what you call distance may not exist at all, that separation may be a form of perception, not a condition of reality. If nothing is truly left, what is it that must return? You feel apart because you think as an individual, bounded by body, memory, and name. The mind draws a circle and calls it I. Everything beyond that circle becomes other. From this habit arises the sense of distance from the One. Ibn Arabi explained that individuality is a necessary appearance, but not an ultimate fact. The One manifests a distinction, but distinction does not cancel unity. The belief in separation is imagination mistaken for truth. If the division is only mental, what remains when the mind's boundaries dissolve? For Ibn Arabi, being is one. Multiplicity is its expression, not its contradiction. Existence unfolds as countless forms, yet every form is an aspect of the same reality. Nothing stands outside of it. Nothing competes with it. The error lies not in diversity, but in confusing diversity with disconnection. When you see difference, you assume isolation. But every difference is a relation, a way in which the One discloses itself. To return to the One, then, is not to escape the world, but to perceive it rightly. If every being is already an expression of the real, where can you go that is not home? You perceive contrast, self and other, inner and outer, above and below. These pairs appear absolute, yet they arise only within perception. Ibn Arabi taught that perception is the veil that reveals by concealing. It divides unity into opposites so that knowledge can occur. But when perception becomes identified with truth, the veil thickens. Awareness forgets its own ground. The One becomes fragmented into perspectives. If seeing itself divides, can perception ever reveal what lies beyond perception? You may study unity, read of it, even affirm it in thought, yet the sense of separation persists. Ibn Arabi distinguished between intellectual agreement and existential realization. The first is description. The second is awakening. Knowledge can point toward the real, but it cannot replace seeing. Words define, but do not deliver. The intellect prepares the ground, yet only awareness completes the recognition. If understanding does not end the search, what kind of knowing brings the return? You turn inward to examine the sense of I. What you find is not an observer behind thought, but awareness itself, open, unbounded, continuous. Ibn Arabi described the human being as the locus where the One recognizes itself. Awareness does not belong to you. You belong to awareness. The One contemplates itself through every conscious center. The word I is not possession, but expression. You are not the seer, but the seeing. If awareness is already the field in which all experience appears, who or what remains to make the journey back? You once imagined return as a long road of progress. But if the destination was never absent, what does progress mean? Ibn Arabi's teaching dissolves the geography of seeking. The path does not lead to the One, it leads away from misunderstanding. The traveler moves not through space, but through perception. Each step is the unveiling of what was already here. If the end was present from the beginning, was there ever a path at all? To return is to remember. Not memory as recollection of the past, but remembrance as awareness of presence. Ibn Arabi called this dhikr, the recognition of the real within every perception. You do not repeat words to reach truth. You return to the still awareness that gives them meaning. Remembrance is not an act of the mind, but the absence of forgetfulness. Could returning, then, be not a movement, but the end of distraction? Ibn Arabi saw the universe as revelation, the self-disclosure of the One through infinite forms. Existence is not a barrier to divinity, but its language. Every event, every being, is the real speaking to itself. To reject the world in pursuit of the One is to misread the text of reality. The path does not oppose the world. It understands it. When perception is purified of ownership, every experience becomes transparent to its source. If all things are signs of the same presence, is the return occurring at every moment without your awareness? You began as a seeker, driven by longing. Yet the deeper you look, the smaller the seeker becomes. Ibn Arabi explained that the final act of return is the vanishing of the one who returns. The self cannot unite with the One. It can only dissolve into it. When the idea of I fades, what remains is pure awareness, undivided, UNOWNED. If the seeker and the sought are one, was there ever truly a journey between them? At the point of realization, movement ceases, not because nothing happens, but because everything is already happening within the One. You see that motion. Thought and perception are internal to the same being. Return is not an event in time, but the end of misperception. Ibn Arabi called this rest sukun, the stillness in which the real knows itself without duality. What you took as progress was the gradual unveiling of what was always whole. If there was never departure, what could realization be other than recognition? You began by asking how to return to the One. Now you see that the question itself created the illusion of two. Return was never about moving closer. It was about seeing clearly. Ibn Arabi's ancient path leads not upward or outward, but inward toward immediacy. The One was never lost. Only awareness forgot to recognize itself. To return is to stop insisting on separation. What remains is not experience but clarity, the quiet recognition that being alone is real. The journey ends where it began, in the presence that was never absent. To return to the One is to see that nothing ever left. The reflection begins with the assumption that human life is a journey of return, a path back to an ultimate source. Through Ibn Arabi's reasoning, this assumption is gradually undone. Each section refines understanding. Distance becomes perception, journey becomes unveiling, and return becomes recognition. The intellect prepares the way, but awareness completes it. By the end, the seeker realizes that all motion and effort took place within the One. Separation was only an interpretation of unity. Returning becomes synonymous with awakening, the dissolution of the idea of two. The narrative closes not in silence but in clarity. The One remains self-evident. No departure ever occurred, and no return is required. What began as seeking ends as understanding, the still realization that being never left itself.